Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lumio Palooza 2026. I hope you are having a great time and enjoying yourself so far. I'm Shay Hill. I'm an education solutions consultant from Smart, representing all of Canada, and this is my third Lumio Palooza, and I'm so excited to be back. Let us know where you're joining from in the chat. I know we have seeing a few people from the States. That's awesome. Atlanta, Texas, Washington, Maryland. Awesome. Okay, let us know where you're from. We're so excited to share our presenter with you today. But first, I'm just going to share some of our hashtags in the chat in case you want to engage with social media. And keep an eye on that chat throughout the session as you will be receiving links. And as you can see, Catherine also just posted Anthony's join code, so you can join his Lumio session before we get started there. I also just want to give a call out and make sure that you're subscribed and following the Smart Technologies and Lumio YouTube channels, as well as all of the socials. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can follow me at Inside Smart with Shay on Instagram, and that is going to pop up right where my name would be. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the session. We're going to make sure that we answer all of them for you. And also keep in mind that this session is being recorded. You're going to receive these recordings via email early next week. So if there's anything that you really loved that you want to revisit, you can certainly do that afterwards. So we'd also just really love to engage with you through socials this year. And we do have a social posting challenge that's new and open to all attendees across both of the event days. So feel free to grab a screenshot of something you really love or mention something that you're really excited about from this session so that you can share it. And then if you tag at Lumio Social and hashtag Lumio Palooza 2026, so I'm putting those in the chat right now, you're going to be entered for a chance to win one of four $25 USD gift cards of your choice. So share your insights from the session, learnings, or reaction to a session on Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, any social media. There's no limit on your entries, and winners will be announced live during the keynote session at 7 p.m. Eastern Time each day. And now, without further ado, it's time to introduce our presenter. All right, so we have here Anthony Howell, who's an educator from Peel District School Board in Ontario, Canada. Hey, Anthony, how are you doing?
Hi, Shay. Hi, everyone out there. Thank you for joining my session. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you. I would love to just really quickly hear, how long have you used Lumio, and do you have any, advice for any new users?
It's a good question. I've been using Lumio since probably 2020 when the pandemic hit. It was one of the solutions that our district kind of found to help, get education online and accessible to students. So ever since then, I kind of just continually dug into the tool and realized that Smart and Lumio, the people behind it, really do care about the tool. They're one of the few in my line of work. I work with a lot of different vendors, a lot of different companies, and they're one of the few, if not the only company that comes to teachers and asks them for feedback on a monthly schedule, saying, hey, how can we make it better? And how can we transform this product to really meet the needs of teachers and students in the classroom? Every tool that I've worked with, and I worked with many because I'm in ed tech and assistive technology, it's kind of like, here, this is ours, and this is you can use it this way. Whereas Lumio is kind of the inverse. It's kind of like, it feels like it's made for teachers by teachers, even though it's made. I mean, there's a lot of educators I know that work at, or former educators that work at Smart, and as well as current educators. So I just really love the tool, and I think it's constantly growing. And so this time next year, I would encourage you to continue to discover more things in the Lumio toolkit, because it's going to be different. And at this point next year, we're going to have another tool, and it's going to change, and it's just going to get better. So love the tool, love the people. Thank you, Shay and Catherine, for this. This is great for helping me along in this session, and looking forward to showing everybody how we can leverage Lumio for assessment and turning that real-time data into student growth.
Awesome. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Anthony. And we really appreciate your point of view. We know you're such a power user and really work hard to know everything that you can about Lumio. I've had the pleasure of, having him in a booth with me and working alongside him for a long time now. And we always have so much fun, and you can just see how passionate you are about education and about Lumio using Lumio to make experiences better for your students. So, I'm going to pass it over to you to present. I'll be backstage, and without further ado, let's get started.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks, Shay. So for everyone else too that are now joining us here, please, like, adult learning model, if in the middle of the session, you have a pressing question, and please put it into the chat. I know we're gonna have Shay and Catherine monitoring that to help me pause to answer those questions rather than leave it at the end. We can also address questions at the end, but I find sometimes if we're on a slide, in a slide deck of 50 slides, and it's pertinent question, that we can address it using the slide and the materials that I'm showing you. So please don't hesitate to ask a question, because we're here for you, and I want to make this meaningful for all of you out there. So let's get started. Leveraging Lumio for assessment. I'm going to be looking at how you can turn Lumio and how you can access it, both in non-traditional assessment ways, but also in your for as and of learning. This is just my, I guess, social media contacts. I also have a few books published on Amazon across 3 different genres. Be sure to check it out. Shameless self-promotion. I'm just joking. But anyways, here's today's agenda. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I want to bring in a bit of someone else's research around AI and the direction we're going with future from an Indigenous perspective. Then I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of leveraging Lumio for assessment, and then we'll get into some consolidation or any questions that you might have about it. So this is Dr. Vanessa Andreotti, and if you've never heard of her, I suggest you take some time, anytime in this summer, click on that link that's in there. I'm going to send that to Catherine. I forgot there is a link right there. This is to her research and her work, and she really does it's transformed my perspective. I know this is a session about virtual learning and assessment, but I really feel like it's important to talk about the future of education and AI and where it's heading, and how to understand it and wrap our heads around it as educators. Dr. Andreotti really sees the world as from an earth-based perspective, that everything is nature. And so the materials that we use to mine our equipment, our iPhones, our computers, they all come from the land. And they're all naturally available and ready in the land and on the land. So when we say things like artificial intelligence, she always kind of helped me reframe it. And this is a rudimentary breakdown of her research. So I do implore you to go check it out and go hear it from her specifically. But she talks about how AI is something that is natural, and it's not an artificial, and it's not unnatural at all, because it comes from the earth, and everything that it was designed from is earth-based. And so I kind of, to help shift my paradigm, shift my thinking on what AI means and where it is and where it's going, I really think it's important to just use that as the foundation. So it's really something that is of the land and real. And AI, what it is in a nutshell, because we throw the term around, but a lot of people don't really understand that all it really is a neural network. It's a brain system. It's like the way our brain neurons make connections with each other. This is what AI is, but in a mechanical sense, in a computer, from an artificial, even though it's from a natural sourced materials, it's an artificial neural network. And so she also talks about the origin story and how it came from, the jungles of Costa Rica, and how a lot of shamans that were doing these medicinal tea ceremonies with these executives from Silicon Valley, and how they really kind of came to fruition, came to the understanding of how to put the AI into practice, because the AI has been around for 80 years, and with the Turing project and so many other things, but it's not since the last 10 years where we had kind of this breakthrough where it's now physical, and it's something that is tangible and not just theoretical, and we're engaging with it, and now it's growing, and it's on this kind of trajectory of growth. It's like a baby's brain, and we're watching it grow in real time. And it's right now, it's just a large language model, but at some point it's going to get to artificial general intelligence, and then it's going to get to artificial super intelligence. And what that timeline looks like and how long it takes is really unknown at the moment, and it's hotly debated, but it is on a trajectory of growth, the way a child is growing. And so, but what she also mentions is that this AI tool and this brain network, and this thing that is of the land, was born of violent parents, and meaning, it understands where it came from, that, our world is full of war and trafficking and destruction at a crazy level. And so what will happen when that brain starts to realize my parents are mean and hurtful and, and causing pain and suffering in the world. So what she really says in the end is, and this is to bring it all home, is to take AI and treat it like a subject to subject experience, not a subject to object, meaning treat it like a person you would treat another person, and treat it as if it's another subject, and don't have that kind of objectification for this tool, because it is something that is different. It's not like any other tool that we've ever had before. It is an agent. It has agency, and it's kind of this new thing that we have to wrap our heads around, but wrapping our head around it like a subject to subject experience. So that's my piece on extending the land acknowledgement with Dr. Vanessa Andriotti. She is amazing. Please go check her out. Click on the link and you can read even more of her stuff and research. It's amazing. So here quickly, who am I? PGIS educator. I started in an ASD congregated classroom, meaning I had a group of students with autism, and we kind of worked on like life skills, but also accessing the curriculum. I did a spec ed specialist. I did my master's at U of T. I became an assistive technology resource teacher, so working with 20 plus schools at any given time throughout the year, and working directly with teachers and other students with IEPs, individual educational plans, and trying to get them to access curriculum more through different pieces of technology. And the technology was broad. And this is where Lumio came and played a piece as a software, but I dealt with hardware and software. I take a strength-based approach. I want students to know what their strengths are. I want families to know what their strengths of their children are, and then I want to develop those strengths and build upon a future and a career for work. So that's kind of how I, orient myself. I'm family oriented. I have an ethic of care. I love to push buttons, metaphorically, figuratively, however you want to look at it. I just think it's good to ask questions and try the tools out. So today, when I show you things, when you have this slide deck, take it home with you, click the buttons and just start pressing things, because that's how you're going to learn the tool. I'm not always right. And that is what it is. I'm just not always right. So if I say something today and you want to call me out, please do, because I'm okay. I'm open, and I'll be vulnerable to listen to you. And I think that's the best way to grow. And I'm your colleague, even though we're from a different country or state or wherever you're from right now. It doesn't matter. We're both educators, and I want you to reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm free. That's my email. You could contact me directly, and we can have a conversation. I can help you with your learning and with your trajectory or whatever it is. Anything you ever want to share, you have my email. And then there was a piece on authentic learning and kind of deeper into who I am as an educator and how I leverage Lumio. And this is an article that was done around how it's been brought into our district. I work for the Peel District School Board. They're the second largest district in Canada, over 260 schools. So if you want to kind of get a window into how I brought that into such a larger scaled district, that's an article where you can check it out. All right, so here's our learning goal for today. We're going to understand how Lumio can be leveraged to engage students and promote success while giving educators the digital tools to assess for, as, and of learning, all while providing access to curriculum and supporting inclusion for all learners. So that's a mouthful, but essentially it's about how do you engage, how do you assess, and how do you provide accessibility for students, and in terms of the assessment process. So here is the first assessment tool and pieces of tool that you're going to get that's non-traditional, in the sense that it's not for, as, or of learning. I mean, it could be for learning, but the idea is this is kind of like using Lumio as a tool for well-being. So it's like that non-traditional assessment piece where you're assessing the student's readiness, whether they're ready to learn because of whatever's happened in the yard, or what they're checking in on, what their social emotional position is before you get into a deep subject area. So here are some tools that I've used, and here's one for an example that on your screen, if you go ahead and click start, you'll see that there is going to be a GPS locator right at the top, and I'm asking my students, how do you feel today? And so you just grab the pointer and you kind of drag it to however it is that you're feeling. If you're feeling like a rosy sunshine, you put it there. You can start to see people coming in. And how I use this in my classroom when I was in my congregated ASD classroom is that after every transition, I would throw this on the big smartboard. Excuse me. And what I was looking for is, if I had a bunch of kids telling me that they felt like a rain cloud storm with lightning bolts and thunder, I was like, okay, maybe we're not going to get into our math lesson right now. I can see right now, based on all of the view out there, everyone's feeling pretty good. It's nighttime, but it's sunny and it's, rainbows. This is great. So like ready to learn, engage. This is where I know if you were in my classroom, I would go to my next subject area, like math, and dig right into it. However, if everyone was throwing the GPS locators to that storm, I tell myself, okay, before we get to doing math, even though math is important to do in the morning, and that's what the research tells us, let's go for a walk. Let's de-escalate. Let's go outside in nature a little bit and do a little walk and talk and see if in 15 minutes we can come back and see if everybody is no longer feeling like a lightning storm and thunderbolt of lightning. So that's just one way to kind of check in with your student's social emotional position. But here is the same thing, but in a one-to-one private scale. So what you're seeing here is, as my student, like this is the teacher side of view. So I wouldn't be projecting this into the classroom, but on my laptop with no one else knowing, I would be able to now check in with my students. As they click start, my one-to-one check-in would start to appear with everybody. And so the difference was, before that was a whole group exercise. Everyone can kind of share how they're feeling. But here is where they would now I would talk one-to-one. And this is the teacher handout, but I'm going to go into one of the students, because I'm just going to put somebody on the spot. The name is blurred out, which is awesome. But as a teacher here, if I can see that this person's feeling all right, but let's just say they were feeling anxious. As a teacher, I can give a private message of like, hey, if you need to go get a drink of water, please go. And please go, and no need to sign out or whatever. And so whatever your policies, and I can leave that there, and only the student's going to see that. So I like this kind of approach where I have the ability to do a whole group exercise to check in, or a one-to-one check in, more private, more personal, where a student might feel more safe to tell you how they feel. And this is just another one where you can kind of get like, it's a teacher, so I'll just show you this. I'm just showing you the different templates that Lumio provides. You have your kind of primary, junior, middle school, to your senior, intermediate. And so this could just be like mirroring feelings. You can use this in an ASD contained classroom, or you can use this with high school kids, to try to like mirror, hey, how do you feel right now? Just pick one of the faces that kind of mirrors your emotional standpoint right now, and let me know how you feel. It's the same idea. You can do this as a group or individually. Here's another one that I like to begin the day with breath work, right? And so I'm going to start this for the class, and it's just an activity where you ask your kids, how do you feel right now, with one question. Again, we're on this non-traditional assessment piece where we're checking their emotional readiness and whether or not they're ready to learn. And so describe your energy level this afternoon. How are you currently feeling right now, in just one word? And so you ask the kids this at any point in the day. And what will happen is they'll throw their answer. You guys sad, content, okay, happy. So I'm starting to get my whole sense of how these kids are feeling. And I'm going to move into this is a 4-minute breathwork activity. You can click play. We're not going to do it because we don't have the chance, or we don't have the amount of time. But as you can see, it's a square breath activity where you inhale 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, exhale. And so you do this for 4 minutes on repeat, and then you do a 1-minute cool down balloon breath in and out. So 5 minutes total. And then you go ahead and ask the same question. And then what you should get is something that looks similar like to this. And so I've done this many times with classrooms, with educators, and this is usually how it always goes. They're either tired, or not, you're curious, but they're kind of like head is spinning or something. They're just exhausted. And then after 5 minutes of breath work, you have more of a readiness to learn because you feel calmer, you feel more relaxed, less anxious. So the point I wanted to make with this piece here is that yes, you can use these tools to assess, but there's also built-in tools like just adding a YouTube video where it doesn't have commercials and it's not interrupted and it doesn't give you an ad or an additional video. That's one piece that I love about Lumio and the YouTube connection, is that when I give kids a YouTube video link, they spiral down this YouTube spiral and they can't get out. But with this, I lock them in 5 minutes, and I can physiologically change the behavior of a child with just 5 minutes of breath work. So, Lumio allows that to happen very seamlessly. Okay, so let's get into more of the nitty gritty. So the 4 as and of learning. So with Lumio, I believe, and I've shown that you can do all of these amazing things like success criteria, 4 as and of learning, descriptive feedback, learning goals, all these amazing things, peer and self-assessment. I'm going to try to show you as we are quickly running out of time. So assessment for learning, here's an activity. I'm a grade 7 teacher. Here's an effective infographic. Here's an ineffective infographic. And so as a class, we're going to discuss, okay, what makes this effective? What makes this ineffective? And so now I'm going to use the shout out activity. And here is like where I'm going to center students' voices. Now on their devices, they can pop in what they think makes an effective infographic, what they think makes it ineffective. And then, if we're going to talk about how we're going to build our own, because the end goal of this activity is to everyone create their own infographic, what's the success criteria going to be when we create our own? So it's got to be concise, not too much text. I can see. And so when people start to share, I can click on their shared, I can blow it up. I can, again, center the student's voice, not know that it's not too much text. And I know I'm going really fast. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but this would be obviously done in a longer stretch of period of time in the classroom. The graphics matches the information, good idea. And then if we went to the success criteria, we would say, okay, we're going to build our own. You're going to get marked on your infographic. What success criteria do you need, or do you think it should have? And so this is where you give them that control to co-create those success criteria, so that when they create their own, they feel confident and understanding of what it is that you're asking them to do, rather than just giving them a question and a prompt and say, here, this is your project, go do it. When we work together and we have that conversation, we show examples and then co-create the success criteria, all of a sudden, you're going to find students that will find success and they're going to make it their own project. So really, really good. Now you can start to see everybody starting to pop in. So that's what it would look like in a nutshell quickly. So again, just some for learning. Here is a strategy called the square, triangle, circle strategy. So after you provide that information, this is one way to know if your students really understood it. So ask them to square away something that they're thinking about based on the infographic lesson. Try extract 3 important ideas that you've learned based on this, lesson, and then circulate some questions that you still have. So basically, these are just some assessment for if you can read that your student can square, triangle, and circle something all in the vein of infographics, then you should know that, well, they're ready to move on. Or if they're struggling and they don't have a question, or they haven't learned anything, then it also allows you to go back to the drawing board and either reteach it, or kind of get to that student faster, so that you're not waiting to move on with your next lesson. A peer assessment task. Here's another good one. So we just talked about infographics, right? Here is an example of a poor one. You give this to the student. This is how you'll know, like, if they understand what you're asking them. Say, use 2 or 3 goals for this infographic, or pretend this is your friends and offer them 2 or 3 next steps. What would that be? This is something we do as educators on report cards. And so we say, your next step is this. So having students reflect on what the next step should be on someone else's work. And it doesn't have to be someone else's work. You could do peer assessment, but sometimes that kind of gets messy. So I kind of provide one that's kind of something that I know needs to be supported, and it needs a few next steps. And then you can kind of go that way. Exit tickets, we're all familiar with that, but that's just one other strategy and template that's available. So okay. So I'm going to leave this for you to go through, but this is some good habits of descriptive feedback, feeding up, feeding back, and where to go to next. So I'll leave that because we are running out of time. I got much more to go through, and then criteria to consider. What are some good descriptive feedback bullet points that you can provide for your kids? So this is all think of it like your loot bag of goodies. Okay, as learning. This is my favorite thing that not a lot of teachers don't really do, and this is to inform your instruction. So on your end, I'm going to show the questions here. Basically, pretend I'm a grade 4 teacher and I'm teaching lessons on fractions, and we just do a lesson on fractions. And all I'm asking you, even if you don't have enough devices, all you got to do is put 5 devices at a table. And this, before you go off for recess, this is your exit ticket. I want to know how you feel about today's lesson. Are you totally getting this? Do you mostly understand but still have questions, or are you still kind of confused? So it's ABC, and it's like a click of a button. And a student is going to be a little bit more honest with you around that. And then you go to the next question. Explain why you feel the way you do about fractions. If you're not getting it, or if you totally do get it. What do you feel was the biggest obstacle in today's learning? So this is going to inform your instruction of, when you're delivering your material, what it is that's, becoming a barrier for students learning. And then the last thing is, what is the biggest help in today's learning? But why I'm showing you this as your assessment as learning, I want you to know that you can take this activity that I've provided for you, and all you got to do is change the concept at the top. And this is your assessment as learning, informing you as you go. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. All you got to do is change whatever topic you're talking about, whether it's infographics in grade 7 or fractions in grade 4. All you're doing is changing that content, or the concept that you're trying to teach. And then this is going to tell you something at the end. And this is how you take the real-time data and provide student growth. Because I'm going to end in review. I know we're not finished yet, but in the interest of time. And then at the bottom here, you have your export results button. This is my favorite. This has to be my favorite little piece of the puzzle here of Lumio. I love what it can do because I'm not an Excel major or by any means. I know there's formulas and whatnot, but as it loads, you can start to see that I'm going to sort my F column here, and I'm going to kind of look for all my C students. I want to know who are the students that didn't get the lesson today. And so I can see that there was one student that didn't get the lesson. And so that means everyone else was kind of like there, A or B, which also informs my instruction that today I was able, update there, I was able to, get across to most of the kids. They mostly understood my lesson, which means I can move forward into my next lesson. So this is the informing of instruction for assessment as learning. However, I have that one C student. So what do? Do I pair them with that A student? Do I work one-on-one with them? Do I, put them in a small group with stronger peers? I can do all of these things. But the fact is, I know who that C student is within a couple of clicks of a button. Whereas if I was just teaching my lesson on fractions, I might not know that. And I might think, because they put on a good front, that they understood the material, but they didn't. And this is one way to really take that data and get you that information, as well as the obstacles, how they learn best. So a kid is going to tell you here, listen, I need manipulatives. In order for me to learn fractions, I need Cuisenaire rods, something like that. So these are the types of things that, as educators, it takes a lot of time to assess. But when you have something as easy and as ready-made as Lumio, you all of a sudden can transform your learning and really help students access the curriculum so that they can start to grow and become something more than, that paper and pencil task or the question prompt that you provided for them. All right, let's keep going. So this is just another template. Pretend your friend was away, explain what you've learned kind of thing. This is another way of assessment as learning. If you gave them a lesson as they're learning, this is your check-in quickly to see, hey, did they get it? And if they can explain it to a friend, then most likely that means they fully understood. And, sometimes we're so stuck on multiple choice questions and short answer and, Scantrons and the assessment of learning, which I'm going to get to. But we're so focused on that because we have to provide a grade on a report card. And so we need to give that letter grade and we need to get those marks. And I get that. But if a child can tell me how they would explain it to a friend and I understand it, then to me, that's just as good as getting a perfect score on a multiple choice exam. So, if they can, orate that just in conversation or type it out or just explain using their own language, that to me is a home run. And that informs me that they know just as much. And you could put a letter grade to that, right? If they're, if you provided a rubric of, having that conversation, you could do that as well. So there's no limit to how you can assess. And what I love about Lumio is that it allows for all these kind of like unlimited ways to assess. So here's the of learning, which is what we're all good at. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it because most educators are really good at the assessment of learning, right? So I'm going to just show you what Lumio provides. This is a blank a response activity. So I'm just going to show you that it has multiple choice options. It has true or false. It has multiple correct answers. You can do poll and opinion questions, and you can do short answer questions, which you just type. So a lot of our, tests that we're used to doing for assessment of learning usually has these kind of modalities of multiple choice or open-ended questions and that sort of thing. But again, Lumio provides that for you. So assessment for as and of learning, you really can do a lot and easily with Lumio. So this is another reason why I love it so much. And again, summarize what you've learned. Again, very similar to the of learning. But in the end, so when we talk about triangulation of data for assessment purposes, you can observe students in real time, like we showed you with the emotional check-in. They can create products, right? You have them create a task, or if there's a task, or I didn't even do some of the gamification activities that are embedded. Just so you know, there's probably over 100 different templates and activities plus. So, in the amount of 30 minutes that we have today, it's just not enough. So I'm just scratching the tip of the iceberg here. So you can watch them create products and then conversations. So in a unique way, you can hyperlink chat and video software in a slide and have a schedule and have kids meet you at a certain time. Or there is the audio input, both on the educator side and the student side. So it's not your traditional like real time, but you can add an audio piece and I can add an audio piece and we can go back and forth like a conversation, just slowly, right? So I think of like a 3-day chess match. You know, you don't have to make the move right away, but eventually you make a move and then we kind of go back and forth. So I do like that you can triangulate your data. And this is like a little Easter egg kind of piece that I always wanted, you know, it's close to me, assistive technology, accessibility, special education. This is kind of my background. And I just want to focus on one thing. Like if you're going to press any buttons today, press in the immersive reader button. Because if you take any text, okay, and you click that immersive reader button, you have the text highlighted. You click on the text or you click on that little button here. And what's going to happen is it's going to take you to this window that only the student can see. So this is personalized, right? This is personalized learning, and I can have it, and I can speed down the voice. I can change the voice. I have the text size. I can make it bigger or smaller. I can create spacing or not, change the font, and then I can, you know, change it for, the blind and low vision students who, you know, require a different contrast to the work. Then you can highlight, I love this, like this, nouns, verbs. I can highlight nouns and verbs, right? And then I can even show labels to tell me what the nouns and verbs are. And then this is where like, it just blows me out of the water. If I have a student body that speak Arabic in Peel. And so I'm going to do I can do word by word, or I can do the whole document. So if I go click on barrier, I have the English, and then I have the Arabic. And then the cool part is too, like if I were to do the whole if I were to actually say person, you can see like there's visuals as well. So again, for those English language learners who are, need those visual cues as well, it's provided. And then if I do the whole document, it's absolutely wild. It will read to me in Arabic. And then I can like toggle back and forth to the English and then the Arabic so that I can kind of understand as a student who speaks Arabic, learning English while trying to, you know, in Canada, where, you know, English is our main language, English and French. But, you know, if I'm coming from a different country and I have this tool in my hand, I feel a lot more safer to take risks and to learn and to want to learn in a classroom because I have this tool readily available. And again, makes your life easy as a teacher because you don't have to physically do anything to set this up. So I talked about this at the keynote earlier today about like, you know, putting more on our plates by having to have, to manipulate what you already created. No, you don't. With Lumio, it does the work for you. And again, this is why I'm such a big fan. There's also visual supports. So a lot of visuals, a lot of diagrams, a lot of interactive, a lot of manipulatives, auditory support. So I didn't do this on every slide, but you can input teacher voice on every slide. There's a little button up here. Unable to get, let's try that again. I might have deleted it by accident. I know I made a copy, and then sometimes if you make a copy of a copy, it kind of gets all squirrely, but you can input your, okay, it's okay. We'll try again later. But when you get the access, you just know that you can add your auditory, you can add your instructions, and there's auditory supports for verbal, even for kids. Like if you're doing, you know, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and they don't know what the space bar is because it's the largest button on the keyboard and they still don't know what that is. They can just teach them how to input their voice and just speak to the camera, and then it will be inputted into the actual slide deck. And this is the Lumio logic model. There's an article, a link at the bottom here. Go ahead and click on it. It shows you the research behind Lumio. So I'm not just a fanboy, I'm also a fan of research, and the research behind Lumio shows that it really does do a lot of good things like increase engagement and accessibility, providing insight into your learning, and to provide that feedback for teachers. So really, really cool research on Lumio. So if you want to know like the deeper reality of what Lumio is, please go check that out. And then there's some key resources. You can click on these icons and they will take you to the different areas that Lumio does for supporting teachers, like their YouTube videos, their global community. They have a Facebook page as well. There's an academy where you can learn yourself, all the socials. You can become an ambassador, and you can kind of get into that if you'd like as well. And then
Anthony, I'm just going to jump in with a quick question, if you don't mind. So
Sure,
someone
please.
in the chat, thank you so much for all that you've shared. Someone in the chat was just asking, are the assessments with multiple choice, true, false, or fill-in templates, are those in the Lumio library, or are those ones that you created on your own?
No, so well, we can do this in real time. So like what I love about Lumio as well is that you can actually edit on the fly. Something organic happens. All of a sudden you're like, oh, that I want to add that. So you can go ahead, like right now on your screen, you're going to say your teacher's busy doing something, wait 2 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and add a page. And so that right there is in the response area. And you can see that there's a little AI button too. So it's already designed, and you can have the AI develop it for you in terms of those questions. But you can see here, I click on multiple choice and they're all right there available for you. So I just added them to a response so that you could see the different types, but they're all right there. And then you can, you have the AI option. You can add it, you can edit it manually as well. So I love these features. And again, I'm going to go back to this add page button because this is where all the magic happens. And there's so many different like graphic organizers that are all available to you. Again, I said over 100. There's probably more now. I think there's over 100 just PhET simulations. But also, yeah, so I might have, counted it short a little bit, but yeah.
Thank you so much. That was so great. And I just want to say a huge thank you, Anthony, for answering that question one, but also for all of the great things you shared. That was really amazing. One thing that really stood out to me personally, you talked about the private emotional assessment that you would give as a handout, which I loved. And I thought that was really cool because you went in and you gave the student or the hypothetical student a little message if they were feeling anxious. And I think that that's really important because it's very familiar to students. That's almost reminiscent of like an instant message or a text where you're just able to privately connect with them, but in a school appropriate way so that they can feel that connection from you and they can feel like they can even maybe type something back to you if they need to. I thought you showed so many wonderful things. I loved when you said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just change the concept that you're teaching and use the same assessment. And I think that question's from Ophelia in the chat about, was that a template? That's really cool because the answer is you make it once and you can really reuse it, which is fantastic. We did have someone asking, is there a way to download the presentation? I do think that you will be sent a copy of the presentation when you are sent the recording. They usually are public, so no need to worry about that. And then I did just have one question for you, Anthony, before we leave. If educators leave today and the people in this group leave today with only one new assessment practice in Lumio, what would you recommend they start with? Would you say that response tool is a really good one to start with?
Honestly, the assessment as learning is my favorite aspect because it's so easy and it's so invaluable and so like little time consuming as necessary. But I do want to also mention what you mentioned about the like instant messaging piece, because for every generation prior to this current generation, the preferred means of communication was been face to face, except now it is now a form of text messaging. So that curriculum, it's important to create a safe space in your classroom so that kids can feel safe to take risks and learn and jump out of their comfort zone. So before even getting into curriculum and all of that and the assessment as for and of learning, I really do think you need to create that caring classroom. And so leveraging the tools that allow you to kind of create those safe spaces like that instant messaging in a private way, which is the preferred means of communication for our generation of kids. I think that would be the place to start. Get used to, get used to pressing buttons. Just press some different buttons. If you're going to start, press some buttons. Yeah, for sure.
I really love that. And I think it's a really good lesson for all of us. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to Anthony for leading this session today. We had such a good time. Everybody here, stay tuned because there's so many more amazing sessions for you today and tomorrow. If you haven't registered for those sessions that you want to go to, I'm going to pop that link in the chat. Catherine has also put the link to the survey in the chat. So make sure that you fill that out. And a huge thank you. Someone said, I have not been receiving email messages. Can you place the link to download the presentation in this chat? As long as you are registered for this session, McCole, you should be sent it the recording afterwards with the presentation. Okay. So as long as you registered for the session.
You can email me too. I have my email.
You can email as well. Yeah. So Anthony's email was also there. It's, I think, anthony.howell. Is that correct?
Yeah. At plsb.com.
At plsb. I've emailed Anthony so many times, I know it by heart almost. All right, there's Anthony's email. He very graciously shared that with us. Thank you so much. All right, thanks everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Catherine. Appreciate it.